Shalom Akim. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect. And today's lesson I want to get into is going into how missiles will be the deciding factor. Okay? And at the end of the day, we understand through the scriptures that Babylon the Great, all right, is going to be utterly destroyed. The daughter of harlots, this place pushes, well, first and foremost, they did the Lord's people dirty, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and still to this day are doing them dirty. Not only that, but they are at the forefront of the LGBT, the alphabet community, and these are two very dangerous, these are two very dangerous reasons that normally got a nation fucked up. And at the end of the day, this devil's going to push this RFID chip. The RFID chip, all right, is going to end and you eating a missile. In which the RFID chip, as it says in Revelation 13, will be pushed on all throughout the world. So knowing these things, we see that World War III is inevitable, and that nuclear bombs being let off is also inevitable. Okay? So as I got this video queued up. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it basically just goes into the different avenues, or the different levels on, just breaking down who will win World War III.
Their understanding and proficiency with a variety of weapons makes them an impressive wildcard for superpowers to play out in the game of war. So in conclusion, who would win World War III? Out of all these scenarios, whether it be nuclear warfare, air and sea, or even by land and manpower, there are definitely a few obvious candidates for first place. In pretty much every area and aspect of the military, it seems to be a neck-and-neck race for the best between America, China, and Russia, as they are the top 3 countries that offer the best armies in the world. They are also the most attractive options for other countries when looking for allies, and the most fearsome adversaries for those who find themselves on the teams fighting against them. Luckily, we're only talking about this in hypothetical terms.
You see? So America, Russia, and China. Now we know, when you look at geopolitics, when you look at the world, that America and China are not in good terms, especially after the Trump administration. But Russia and China is. So at the end of the day, America's finished. And this is how we also see, or how we also understand, that America has to be Babylon the Great. Okay? So now, I got a few articles, and of course, precepts, going into how we know this place is done. Okay? And let me see if I can find it. It actually stemmed off of this article. Let's see. Which it says the U.S. show reveals how shallow and ill-informed America's understanding of China is. No wonder we're losing the economic battle. Okay? And that's on one aspect. But America's losing in the most important aspect, as I mentioned, World War III, which is ICBM nuclear missiles. Now, let me see. This is a good article too. Just going into the science behind understanding the hypersonic ballistic missile. So it says national pride is at stake. Russia, China United States raced to build hypersonic ballistic missiles. It says high in the sky over northwestern China, a wedge-shaped unmanned vehicle separated from a rocket, coasting along at up to Mach 6, or 6 times the speed of sound. The Zhengkong 2 Wave Rider hypersonic cruise missile bobbed and weaved through the stratosphere, surfing on its own shock waves. At least that's how the weapons developer, the China Academy of Aerospace Aerodynamics, described the August 2018 test. China did not release any video footage. Slacking. The HCM hypersonic the HCM's speed hypersonic cruise missile and maneuverability crowd the Communist Party Global Times would enable the new weapon to break through any current generation anti-missile defense system. For decades, the U.S. military and its adversaries have coveted missiles that travel at hypersonic speed, generally defined as Mach 5 or greater. Intercontinental ballistic missiles meet that definition when they re-enter the atmosphere from space, but because they arc along a predictable ballistic path like a bullet, they lack the element of surprise. In contrast, hypersonic weapons such as China's Wave Rider maneuverability aerodynamically, enabling them to dodge defenses and keep an adversary guessing about the target. And that's why when this place goes down, it's going to be in 1 hour, man. The church is saying 1 hour because the missiles, they come in left and right and quick too. You know, by the time you notice it's coming, it's already too late. It's already past the threshold of your nuclear defenses. You know, if you even have good enough nuclear defenses. So, nuclear defense weaponry. Since the dawn of the Cold War, the Pentagon has periodically thrown its weight behind the development of maneuverability hypersonic weapons, only to shy away when technology hurdles such as propulsion control and heat resistance prove daunting. You see a flurry of activity, a lot of investment, and then we conclude it's a bridge too far, says aerospace engineer Mark Lewis, director of Defense Research and Engineering for Modernization at the U.S. Department of Defense. The community was underfunded and largely forgotten for many years, adds Daniel De Laurentiis, director of Purdue University's Institute for Global Security and Defense Innovation. You see? So as Russian, China, they have multiple hypersonic ballistic missile programs going, or hypersonic ballistic missiles that they've built. America is just getting their feet wet. Now, DoD is leading a new charge, pouring more than $1 billion annually into hypersonic research. Competition from ambitious programs in China and Russia is a key motivator. Why? Because they see that they're losing. So now they really gotta, hype up their research and kind of put the whip to their scientists back, so to speak. Because they see they're being, when it comes, as I mentioned before, when it comes down to who's got the technology, it's going to be Russia and China. Although hype and secrecy muddy the picture, all three nations appear to have substantial progress in overcoming key obstacles. such, a, such as protecting hypersonic craft from savage friction heating. Russia recently unveiled a weapon called the King's Hawk, said to reach Mach 10 under its own power, and another that is boosted by a rocket to an astonishing Mach 27. China showed off a rocket-boosted hypersonic glide vehicle of its own, the Dongfeng 17. In a recent military parade, the United States, meanwhile, is testing several hypersonic weapons. It's a race to the moon sort of thing, says Ian Boyd, an aerospace engineer at the University of Colorado Boulder. National pride is at stake, and these American devils is the proudest, but pride ain't gonna do nothing if you can't back it up. This new arms race promises to upend strategic calculations. Russian officials have cast nuclear-armed hypersonic craft as a hedge against future U.S. prowess at shooting down ICBMs, which could undermine nuclear deterrence. China's military, in contrast, sees hypersonic weapons as well as cyber warfare and electromagnetic pulse strikes as an assassin's mace, a folklore term for a weapon that gives an advantage against a better armed foe, says Larry Warzel, a senior fellow at the American Foreign Policy Council who serves on the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commissions. If tensions were to spike over Taiwan or the South China Sea, for instance, China might be tempted to launch preemptive strikes with conventional hypersonic weapons that could cripple U.S. forces in the Pacific Ocean, Warzel says. China's hypersonic weapons, he warns, seem deliberately targeted at upending the tenuous strategic stability that has been in place since the end of the Cold War. Jumping down, it says the United States has spent decades trying to get hypersonic flight right. The first vehicle to exceed Mach 5 was a two-stage rocket dubbed Project Bump, launched in 1949. After 4 failed tests, the V-2 rocket lifted off from a missile range in New Mexico, releasing a second stage sounding rocket that attained Mach 6.7. It says Project Bumper and subsequent efforts laid bare the daunting challenges. This is a very unforgiving realm, says Lewis, who served as a chief scientist of the U.S. Air Force from 2004 to 2008. You're flying under extraordinary conditions. Extreme velocities, forces, and temperatures. The hypersonic threshold of Mach 5 is arbitrary, but at those speeds, he says, temperatures start to get high enough to worry about. His little chart, which I'm going to put this on the Low Willing. I'm going to put these articles that I'm going to read in this video on the comment board so you brothers could do your own research. But this is a little chart. You see hypersonic missiles, as we just read, is a lot less harder to defend against because there's no rhyme or reason to how they move, so to speak. It says because ICBMs arc along a ballistic path, they lack the element of surprise. In contrast, hypersonic weapons are maneuverable and fly at lower altitudes, evading radar and dodging defenses. Okay? So now, I want to read, which other one I seen? So Russia, this is from BBC News, and this was last year in December 27. Russia deploys at Vanguard hypersonic missile system. Russia's first regiment of Vanguard hypersonic missiles has been put into service, the defense ministry says. The location, the location was not given, although officials had earlier indicated they would be deployed in the Urals. President Vladimir Putin has said the nuclear-capable missiles can travel more than 20 times the speed of sound. So over Mach 20, that would be Mach 20. And put Russia ahead of other nations. They have a glide system that affords great maneuverability and can make them impossible to defend against. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu confirmed the Vanguard hypersonic glide vehicle into service at 10 Moscow time on December 27th, calling it a landmark event. Okay? And the scriptures tell us, all right, and Amos 9 and 8. Well, you know what? Actually, I want to read Jeremiah 50 first. So it says, Jeremiah 50 and verse 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And Chaldea shall be a spoil. All that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoice, O ye destroyers of my heritage. The Lord's heritage is Israel. The scriptures say how Israel is the Lord's portion. All right, Deuteronomy 7 and 6, Psalms 148 and 13 and 14, Amos 3. All points to the Israel being the Lord's portion. Okay? Scripture say, you only have I known, Amos 3. Because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass and bellow as bulls. Okay? Esau thinking that, as the scriptures say, you thought that I was altogether as one as you, because the Lord didn't tax Esau's ass right away. So now he's comfortable and putting a foot in Esau's ass. Jake's. Now Esau's comfortable, basically as he uses Jake as his footstool. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the innermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Those ICB missiles, they sweep everything, man. As a matter of fact, let me get that, because in Amos 9 and 8, it says, behold, the eyes of Yahweh power are upon the sinful kingdom. Now, all these kingdoms are sinful, but the sinful kingdom, the one that, is the beacon of wickedness, the one where, enforces its wickedness as far as pushing women, feminism and the alphabet community upon the world, is this place called America. When you actually look it up, there was actually, I believe, America was the first one to push same-sex marriages. And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Yahweh. And we look at this word destroy, all right, it says to destroy, exterminate, be destroyed, be exterminated. And I was thinking about, how, brothers, you might have to exterminate your house at one point or another, and I was thinking about like how you got those damn bombs that you got to put in your house and shit, and then the steam goes off, and it just reaches in every crevice of the house or whatever to get whatever rodent out. And that's going to, just thinking about those nuclear missiles, how you're going to get every crevice of this place. The scriptures say that the whole land shall be desolate. All right. As a matter of fact, let's get that. This is 2 Peter chapter 3. Verse 12. Looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of God, wherein the heavens, being on fire, okay, shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The word elements, any first thing from which the others belong to some series of composite whole, take their rise, an element, first principle. Okay, so anything that goes back to the periodic table is going to be destroyed. That's the best way I could explain it. Which aluminum is on, everything, gold, aluminum, everything upon its place is going to be destroyed. Okay, and I also think about it like when the scriptures call it the besom of destruction. When that shock wave from the ICBM nuclear missile, all right, or the hypersonic missile, the nuclear missile, when it touches down, the shock wave, all right, not only from ground zero where it touches, but the shock wave is going to be crazy. All right, and imagine two or three hitting down at the same time. Okay. Plus, mind you, it's going to be passing electrical lines and oil, nuclear plants, which is going to make the fire that much hotter. Okay? So, you go ahead and take that chip if you want. You're going to be sorry. This is, I think that's Isaiah 14:23. Yep. All praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. It says, 14:22, for I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and the remnant, the son and the nephew, saith Yahweh. There's not going to be no remembrance of Esau. No idols, no nothing. The money's going to be done away with in that day. All right. The idols are going to be done away with in that day. The particular monuments that Esau has erected over there in DC, it's going to be done away in that day. This whole, and even all around the world. I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water, and I will sweep it. All right. It's that word bittern, actually. All right. So he's going to make a possession for the bittern, which the bittern, as it says in Isaiah 34, is those desert-like animals and pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction. Okay? That word besom is broom. Okay? So, like going into the shock wave after that nuclear missile hits down. It's going to hit, and then it's going to sweep everywhere, man. Taking everything out in its path. It says, with the besom of destruction, saith Yahweh of hosts. Okay? So now, let's see. Mr. Putin said on Tuesday that the Vanguard system could penetrate current and future missile defense systems. Okay? So Russia's on some next level stuff, man. Adding, not a single country possesses hypersonic weapons, let alone continental range hypersonic weapons. The West and other nations were playing catch up with us, he said. Mr. Putin unveiled the Vanguard and other weapon systems in his annual State of the Nation address in March 2018, likening it to a meteorite and a fireball. In December 2018, the weapon hit a practice target 3,700 miles away in a test launch at the Barvsky missile base in the southern Ural Mountains. The Vanguard is invulnerable to intercept by any existing and prospective missile defense means of the potential adversary, Mr. Putin said after the test. Mounted on top of an intercontinental ballistic missile, the Vanguard can carry a nuclear weapon of up to 2 megatons. Russia's defense ministry has released video of the Vanguard system, but weapons experts have expressed skepticism about its effectiveness. In a statement, the Pentagon said it would not characterize the Russian claims about the Vanguard's capability. The U.S. has its own hypersonic missile program, as does China, which in 2014 said it had conducted a test flight of such a weapon. And again, America, they do have strength, don't get me wrong, but when you going up against two allied superpowers that both equally hate your ass, you really got a problem. Okay? And this other article I actually seen, going into U.S. success, this article, I'm trying to see when they actually made it. All right, this is last year, March 21st, 2020. U.S. successfully tests nuclear-capable hypersonic missile. The Pentagon said a test missile flew at hypersonic speeds, more than 5 times the speed of sound of Mach 5, to a designated impact point. The test followed the first joint U.S. Army and Navy flight experiment in October 2017. So it says Washington, the United States, announced Friday it has successfully tested an unarmed prototype of a hypersonic missile, a nuclear-capable weapon that could accelerate the arms race between superpowers. The Pentagon said a test glide vehicle flew at hypersonic speed, more than 5 times the speed of sound, or Mach 5, to a designated impact point. But that ain't really shit compared to 20 times the speed of sound. Which is still fast as hell, but it's not as fast as even Russia said. So, and this was back in 2018, 2019, that Russia was ready, with his advanced guard. So now you starting to see the picture. It says hypersonic weapons can take missile warfare, particularly nuclear warfare, to a new and for many frightening level. They can travel much faster than current nuclear-capable ballistic and cruise missiles. And these nations also got ICBMs. They got cruise missiles. All right? At low altitudes, can switch direction in flight and do not follow a predictable arc like conventional missiles, making them much harder to track and intercept. Even as conventionally armed non-nuclear weapons, they are viewed by analysts as raising the danger of conflict because an adversary might not know how they are armed when launched. The Pentagon is pressing to catch up with rivals Moscow and Beijing in the race to develop hypersonics, even as it recognizes they could dangerously raise the risk of a nuclear conflict as countries struggle to build defense against them. So not only do you got to worry about building up, warheads yourself, you also got to worry about building up a nuclear defense system. And this was really, showed you that this devil knows that he has a short time. So it says, in its fiscal 2021 budget, the U.S. Defense Department requested $3.2 billion for hypersonic programs. And here it is, you're willing to put yourself in more debt, all right, to build up your nuclear arsenal because they know that something is going to go down. Up from 2.6 billion in the current year. The goal is a deployable hypersonic capability by 2023, though that could be difficult, you see? So they ain't ready, man. They not ready. And this place is set to fall. As we read in the scriptures, we see, and especially, all right, matching it up with this particular articles that I just read, other articles, I'm pretty sure there's other articles out there. You see that Babylon the Great ain't ready. So it says, back at Jeremiah 50 and 13, because of the wrath of Yahweh, it shall not be inhabited. This proves that it's not actually talking about ancient Babylon, because over there in Iraq, there's people still over there. All ye that bend the bow, shoot at her, spare no arrows, for she have sinned against Yahweh. Shout, Salaki, I'll read it again at 14. Put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. So even America's allies, as it says in Obadiah verse 6, is going to turn on her. All right? Because they're about, they're about success. And if you can't provide that for them, they'll go to somebody else who will. Okay? So it says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about, all ye that bend the bow. Spare no arrows, for she have sinned against Yahweh. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh, take vengeance upon her as she have done, do unto her. And for years, this place been bullying these other nations, doing shit without their consent. These past few years with the Trump administration, they just been calling the shots when it comes to UN councils and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the other nations have been getting screwed over. All right, they have had to suffer from these harsh sanctions on these other nations like Iran or Russia, where they get where they get their oil from. Shout against her round about. She hath given her hand, her foundations are fallen, her walls are thrown down. Walls in the ancient world, all right, you would erect bullocks, which are basically just like a wooden, like a tall wooden fence, all right, for lack of better terms, and that would be her defense, and America's defense is supposed to be, her nuclear defense system, which that's slacking. For it is the vengeance of Yahweh, take vengeance upon her as she have done, do unto her. Cut off the sower from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn everyone to his people, and they shall flee everyone to his own land. Israel is a scattered sheep, the lions have driven him away. First, the king of Assyria have devoured it, and last, this Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, have broken his bones. And it shows you how the Most High is a just power, because he's showing you what's going to happen to you and why he's doing it to you, as it says in Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right, for Israel's sake. Okay, therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, as is also written in Exodus 21 and 16. All right, he that steals from man, if when the Lord comes back, he find that man in his hands, the thief shall be put to death. And we're still, the scriptures say, we are yet this day in our captivity. Okay, so all things lead to this devil being taken down. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria. And I will bring Israel again to his habitation, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. We're going to get our land back, man. We're going to finally be reunited with our mother. And in those days and that time, saith Yahweh, the iniquity, and we finally going to find rest. In those days and in that time, saith Yahweh, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none, and the sins of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. Okay? And if the Most High pardon us, that means that we can't go back into slavery. Because that's the only reason why we went into slavery was because of our iniquities. Okay? Deuteronomy 28 and 15 on down tells you that. Go up against the land of Merathaim, even against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod. Waste and utterly destroy after them, saith the Lord, and do unto all that I have commanded thee. A sound of battle is in the land, and of great destruction. How is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken down? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Okay? And that's, when a bully gets taken down, everybody's happy, man. Right? But how? How's he at one point at the top of the world, and the next he's in a pit? The nuclear missiles, man. They gonna come like a thief in the night. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Okay? Because while these Americans, they're looking at, Christmas, New Year's, all right, worrying about this pandemic, these other nations is still gearing up for their nuclear missiles. They're still gearing up for war. And also caught because thou hast striven against Yahweh. And again, also going into, they think the Lord is actually on their side. Because the Lord is allowing, this pandemic to go as, planned. And other things that this devil has done. So wickedness against the Lord's people. And it looks like the Lord has not done anything. Thou art found and also caught. But the Lord told Pharaoh, let my people go. Okay? And he wouldn't let him go. So he pursued him to his own destruction, just as this devil Esau Edom is. He actually wants to chip everybody to have them as perpetual slaves. They show you that in that show, Altered Carbon. The Lord have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. Okay? And the scriptures say in what is that? 2nd Esdras 8 and 23. That the Lord is the one actually orchestrating the missiles. Alright? 2nd Esdras 8 and 20. O Lord, thou that dwellest in everlastingness, which beholdeth from above things in the heaven and in the air, whose throne is inestimable, whose glory may not be comprehended, before whom the host of angels stand with trembling, whose service is conversant in wind and fire, whose word is true and sayings constant, whose commandment is strong and ordinance fearful, whose look drieth up the depths, and indignation maketh the mountains to melt away, which the truth witnesseth. Okay, and us of the hopeful elect, as we watch, we see that this is exactly what the Lord is going to do. He's going to make the mountains, these other nations, melt away. All right, under the fervent heat of the ICBM nuclear missile. Okay, so that's pretty much it, man. Hey, the missiles are going to be the deciding factor. So with that, shalom to the elect.